I'm Melita Easters, the Executive Director and Founding Chair of Georgia Win List. Our Board of Directors is delighted to announce our endorsement of Senator Jen Jordan for her historic 2022 campaign for Georgia Attorney General. She has been an eloquent and visionary member of the Georgia Senate since her election in 2017, with a victory which not only flipped a seat, but removed the Republican Senate supermajority. Senator Jordan, please tell us about the groundswell of support which has allowed you to set new fundraising records for this position, and what makes 2022 a good time for you to launch a campaign to become Georgia's first female Attorney General.
So first, thank you, Melita. I really, really appreciate this. It really is an honor. In terms of the support that we've been able to garner, I think it really is a culmination of things that started in 2017. We were one of the first campaigns that were able to flip a seat. And then from there, I mean, so many other Democrats, but in particular, so many other women that Win List has supported have been able to flip seats and to hold office. And I think with respect to Democrats, but specifically to Democratic women, a lot of them that support me, I think that they see just how significant it is when you have a woman representing you, and how the conversation changes. And also in terms of what issues you fight for and who you fight for. And in the General Assembly, which is dominated by men, on both sides, to be quite frank, I think it's more important than ever that women be represented and really have their voices heard.
Thank you. For those not familiar with the responsibilities of an Attorney General, please outline them.
Yeah, so the Attorney General is really the people's lawyer in the state of Georgia. Now, the Attorney General also gives guidance to members of the General Assembly or to the governor or to the various agencies in terms of representing them or giving them opinions. But at the end of the day, the Attorney General really is supposed to be about protecting the people of the state, and that should always be the first priority. So, just to give you kind of an example, with respect to my district in particular, there was a plant that was emitting cancer-causing carcinogens. And one of the only people who could actually go in and shut the plant down to protect not only my constituents, but me and my family was the Attorney General of the state of Georgia. That's the kind of power, that's the kind of things that the Attorney General should be doing if, in fact, they have the people, if they're putting people first in terms of their priorities.
Now, you have been a fierce fighter for Georgia families in a variety of ways since your graduation from law school, with honors, I might add. Please share a few highlights of your courtroom victories and legislative accomplishments which uniquely prepare you for this statewide responsibility.
So a lot of what I've done is actually representing consumers, representing voters in the state, representing regular Georgians. That has been my practice for the last 20 years, which is really representing people where something bad has happened to them and they need help. And it runs the gamut. I spent many years dealing with predatory lending issues, going after payday lenders in this state, who in particular were really going after veterans and veterans' families, and then also our servicemen and women, and charging like 1,000% interest. So kind of the predatory lending stuff and prosecuting those cases to try to get people relief. But also in terms of more of kind of the public good or the pro bono part of things. I went after Brian Kemp when he was Secretary of State, and he released the data, of every single Georgian in this state and refused to even acknowledge it. So it's those kind of things that I've even done as an individual and individual practice and private practice that actually carry over to the office of the Attorney General, and really what the Attorney General should be doing anyway.
Thank you. Now, you have been critical of the Republican incumbent for some of the national lawsuits he and other Republican attorneys general have filed. How would you handle the responsibilities of the office differently from the current occupant?
Look, I think that the office should not be politicized. I understand that this is a partisan office we are running for, but at the end of the day, we should be enforcing the law. We should be following the law. We should be making sure, and particularly the Attorney General needs to be making sure that other government officials are following the law. And if they're not, to hold them accountable for it. And so with respect to that, it doesn't really matter what party you subscribe to. The law is the law, or at least it should be. So with respect to the current occupant of the office, he really has used the offices much more in a partisan way and to push partisan issues and policies that actually hurt the people of Georgia, in particular when he went after the Affordable Care Act and actually had Georgia get into a lawsuit whose single aim of that lawsuit was to basically do away with Obamacare, which obviously helped so many people in the state, particularly those with pre-existing conditions. So that's kind of an example of putting partisanship and party over really what the people that you represent need and want.
Could you provide some other examples?
Man, the NRA, in terms of abortion rights and choice, it's almost like the greatest hits in terms of a Republican platform or whatever. For a long time with respect to Trump, whatever Trump was pushing, you would have the Republican Attorney Generals Association pushing that out in a very partisan way. And like I said, at the end of the day, attorney generals are lawyers, and they're lawyers that are supposed to represent the people of the state, no matter what party they're in. So when you see someone who's using the office in a very partisan and political way, it should worry everybody. And honestly, it should never be used that way.
Now, there are those who see you and think of you quite accurately as a glamorous, highly effective Atlanta attorney and state senator. But you are also an outstanding example of a rural Georgia success story powered by a Hope Scholarship. Could you please share a bit about your rural Georgia roots and how that would influence your position as Attorney General?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Dodge County, and it is a small place, and it really was a great place to grow up. My mom was a hairdresser. She had a beauty shop, and I really grew up in that shop, going there every day after school, listening to the women, getting their hair done. And one of the things that I realized is that no matter who you are, no matter how hard you work or whatever it was, that bad things can happen to you and you really need help. And so I think that growing up the way I did with a single mom who really had to lean on the community, and specifically my teachers who became like family to me and really are the ones that encouraged me to go to college. And like you said, Hope made that possible. Lots of minimum wage jobs made that possible. Lots of hard work. But that's what we want for every kid in the state, right? We want them to have the opportunity to succeed if they're willing to do the work. And I was given that. And, I don't think that that's necessarily there right now for children in the state. And that's one thing that we really need to start focusing back on, because I'm an example of what can happen. Like I said, you grow up dirt poor, you don't have any money. You don't even know that you can go to college or that you have the ability to go to college. But the public education system, the public school teachers, and going really through college and law school, all through the public education system in this state. I mean, it's an incredible thing to be able to really do. I mean, I've got like a dream job in terms of being a lawyer. I get to represent people that don't have power and give them voice. And so for me, in terms of my practice for the last 20 years, representing individuals and fighting for them, it's all been informed by how I grew up. It's all those women in that beauty shop, right? All the times I heard them talk about creditors coming after them, not being able to pay hospital bills, whatever it was, and just needing help. That's always kind of in the back of my mind when I'm representing folks. And so really the Attorney General is kind of just taking that to the next level, where really it is about offering that representation to every person in the state, every voter.
You are uniquely and marvelously qualified for this job. What do you see the Democratic ticket offering to Georgia voters in 2022, which they have not seen during the recent 2 decades when Republicans have held a trifecta of state government control?
Look, I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a ticket, a slate up and down that looks like this state. The state of Georgia is incredibly diverse, and it's actually one of the greatest strengths of this state. And you're going to see people from rural Georgia. You're going to see people from metro. You're going to see women. You're going to see men. You're going to see people, LGBTQ community members, the whole gamut, right? And I think that what that offers to folks is that offers them, they see that, and they see that they're represented one way or the other. And I think for purposes of the ticket, I think that's great, because I think that's going to get people excited. I mean, when you see somebody that comes from where you come from, or has the same story, or you feel connected to them in some way, it gets you excited. It makes you want to get out there. It makes you want to volunteer, and it makes you want to vote. And ultimately, that's absolutely what we have to do in 22, is to get every single person out to vote, because that's ultimately how we win.
Well, speaking of volunteering and getting people out there to vote, let's have you share how those interested in your campaign can support your efforts and get involved.
Absolutely. They can go to www.gen4ga.com. There are ways to donate. I will tell you, we're a little bit under the gun, as you know, because as a sitting legislator, when we go back into session, we can't fundraise. So we had special session effectively during the whole month of November, which cut off fundraising. And then we're going to go back in January, and there's going to be a 3 to 4 month blackout right before the primaries. So if folks can donate, that's really the number one thing right now. And then as we kind of build in terms of our volunteers and our different opportunities, there's going to be a lot to do, because, you know, the state of Georgia is a pretty big place, Melita.
Okay, now what else should voters know about you and your family, and what makes Jen Jordan tick?
Look, I think at the end of the day, you're never going to completely agree with somebody, right? A politician, in terms of different policies or whatever. There's always going to be some kind of difference. But what I tell folks is that you will never doubt that I will wake up every single day in single-mindedly thinking about the people of this state, and what I can do and what the people in my office can do to actually protect them, and make sure that the Attorney General's office is doing exactly what it needs to do.
On behalf of the entire Windlass community, we wish you well in your campaign, Senator Jordan, and we thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.